Our Techstars MD famously said that we were the only team that he thought the idea was absolute garbage, but really, really believed in the team. It's the only time he's ever made a bet like that. And so they took a chance on us.
That's Burhan Syed, founder of Rondah AI. Most founders get into accelerators by pitching a great idea. Burhan got in with a bad one. The MD saw something in the team that overrode everything else and bet $120,000 on it. That bet put Burhan in a room where he'd find one of the most overlooked problems in healthcare, and eventually build a company that's now running over 350 dental practices across North America.
Born in India, grew up in the Middle East, moved to Canada when I was 10. Very sort of middle class brown community. And if you're from the brown community, you understand how important it is to work really hard, make a lot of money, and have a good job.
The pressure went beyond cultural expectation.
My entire life, I wanted to be an investment banker. It's what I was working towards. But unfortunately, when I was in my early teens, my dad was sort of out of the picture. Since that point, I've always wanted to, or had to, take care of my family. I've got 3 younger sisters, single mom. As she was in college, we were living on welfare, that kind of situation. At that point, it was clear to me that at the age of 13, if I wasn't able to support my family, that it was very likely that we were going to end up in a pretty bad situation going forward.
With all that going on, it felt like his investment banking dream was already done at just 13 years old.
So I started buying broken electronics and fixing them up. That was the start of my entrepreneurial journey. I was sort of the behind the scenes guy. I would be buying these broken PS3s, PS4s, Samsung phones and iPhones, fixing the screens or changing the RAM and then reselling them. That was my first business. I think in year 2, we were doing about $50,000 in profit. So it was the first time I saw real money.
Burhan was a kid who figured out there was margin in things that other people had already given up on. And that instinct runs through everything he's done since. After the electronics hustle, Burhan kept moving. He started an events company in Toronto called Six Social and had $500,000 in revenue at 22 years old. Then he tried to build tech for the first time.
And I started a nightlife SaaS platform, which was my first real failure. I think building tech versus building these sort of consumer businesses are two completely different building mentalities.
The skill set for an events business is almost the complete opposite of what an early stage tech startup requires. But Burhan's version of that lesson came with a price tag. When
you're building in tech, you want to build an MVP as fast as possible, ship something, and then iterate from there. And my mentality of being very meticulous and thoughtful and building an experience didn't really resonate with technology.
After building for almost a year with just $2,000 in MRR to show for it, Burhan realized it just wasn't going to scale. Techstars saw something in them anyway.
Our Techstars MD famously said that we were the only team that he thought the idea was absolute garbage, but really, really believed in the team. It's the only time he's ever made a bet like that. They took a chance on us. We got $120,000 in funding.
Ultimately, the MD was betting on Burhan, not the product. And so halfway through Techstars, with a $120,000 check in his pocket, but the nightlife platform going nowhere, something had to shift.
In college, I met one of my best friends now, Alan, and his parents are dentists. He actually comes from families of generations of dentists. We used to work as receptionists during breaks, summers, at his parents' dental practices.
They thought it would be easy.
We came in thinking dude, receptionist job, super easy, answer the phone, book an appointment kind of thing, right? Not at all the case. The average clinic has one receptionist to take over 300 calls, manage patient intake, in-person patients, be responsible for all the paperwork and experience. It's a super tough job and it's not sustainable. It's why there's super high turnover in the dental space. And it's also why, for the most part, receptionists are unable to pick up over 70% of phone calls that come in. About 30 to 50% of phone calls get missed at dental practices, translates to about $1 million in lost revenue per dental practice.
With every practice losing an average of $1 million a year because one person can't answer 300 calls a day, that's opportunity. And at Techstars, a mentor named Nate, who'd been a VP at DoorDash, gave Burhan the advice that would change his approach.
His mindset was always, guys, don't build a product, build a process that you're going to use to determine what the product's going to be.
So they interviewed dentists, validated the problem, and found an $11 billion TAM that no one was approaching in the right way.
Rondah, who was the longest time receptionist at Alan's parents' practices, she taught us what we know about the space. And so we thought it would be amazing if we could name the business after her. So that's why our business is called Rondah.
Before the product was built, before they even had anything to demo, they went to one of the world's top 10 dental support organizations, or DSOs, which are private equity-backed companies that run hundreds or even thousands of practices at once.
Dental Core ended up falling on our lap because one of my former clients at a previous role ended up being the cousin of the CEO. And so we got a sort of backdoor intro that way. ended up selling dental core on a product that didn't exist and completely made it up. At the time, Martin, the CMO, like laughed us off, but we were super persistent, kept sending them product updates, kept showing up their offices. 3 months after that meeting, we ended up getting a contract. They are one of the world's top 10 DSOs. They give us a lot of credibility.
Having dental core on board was a huge credibility boost that opened the next door and the next one. But selling into the enterprise does have a learning curve.
And you have a bunch of like 22, 23-year-old kids who don't know what the fuck they're doing, selling to them and sort of creating an onboarding process as we go.
This is the definition of building the plane while flying it. But at enterprise scale and with people who'd been evaluating vendors for decades. Rondah's product has 3 layers: patient-facing voice AI that books appointments, a practice command center showing the front office where calls are landing and what needs follow-up, and a DSO analytics dashboard showing ROI across hundreds of practices at once. The real insight is what happens after the appointment gets booked.
The unique insight we had is it's actually not the players in the space that manage insurance-related workflows that have the ability to increase the payouts from insurance companies to these providers. It's actually the patient engagement tools.
All of this was spread out across a variety of vendors and cost centers, and Rondah realized they were already sitting on the data that makes it solvable.
The unique insight here is that we understand the patient services deeply because we're the ones that actually created the appointment and manage that life cycle of the patient engagement throughout the process. We're the ones that have access to all those notes. And then ultimately, we can predictively understand how insurance companies are changing the rules because we have DSOs all across North America with various different types of practices.
Single practice needs 50 or 60 insurance claim rejections to know that the rulebook has actually changed. But Rondah can tell after just 3 or 4 by aggregating data across hundreds of practices. Burhan's estimate is that that insight turned an $11 billion market into a $220 or $230 billion one.
RCM allows us to unlock over a $100 billion market because we can now take a percentage of the claims that we are responsible for payouts and ensuring the claims are actually settled.
Techstars funded Burhan, not his nightlife platform. They saw a pattern of someone who was relentless and capable.
For us, the most exciting thing is we get to sort of develop the playbook for what it looks like to build a product in our segment. And I'm super excited to explore what that looks like.
And with 350 practices live and revenue that's doubling quarter over quarter, it looks like they were right. If you want to see what Rondah AI looks like in practice, check out the link in the description. And don't forget to subscribe and check back next week. Each Saturday morning, I share the founding journey of a new venture-backed startup that's trying to change the world. See you in the next one.